Welcome to the Young Crones Cafe, where you can get a magic brew full of all sorts of information, both witchy and practical.
Grab a cup of coffee and join us. I'm Elizabeth, a wordsmith.
And I'm Dave, a modern-day sage.
We are going to talk about various witchcraft and life topics from a slightly more mature perspective, at least most of the time.
Thanks for joining us.
Today's metaphysical kernel of thought is experiential practice. While reading and studying can allow you to learn all sorts of things about the practice of witchcraft and magic, words cannot explain the mysteries of witchcraft, magic, personal beliefs, or communion with various types of energy. These are all subjective, based on individual experiences. The fact that each of us personally experiences witchcraft and its practice differently is what makes it a mystery religion. No one else can be touched by the magic of both worlds in exactly the same way. Reading and studying can provide you with the how of doing a ritual or practicing magic, and this makes them a foundation for creating an experiential practice. However, these types of practices require the attempts, the doing, and the needed work to go out and really live a life using the practice of witchcraft itself. Unless you experience the altered state of being within a ritual, perform the spells and see the results for yourself, and connect with your internal spark of the divine in ways that work for you, there really is no point in being a witch and seeker, because it is a way to experience the emotions and raw needs for each of us. Those of us on the path have shared our thoughts and some knowledge we have gained through years of our experiences of being practicing witches. But we hope that what we have shared through these essays will make you think about your own practice a little differently, and then maybe go into the world in which you live and work with an enhanced perspective about how you can be a witch and seeker in your own unique ways. We wish you all the joy and struggle we have walked through and continue to walk through as we strive to complete our own great works. Good evening, Dave.
Hi, Elizabeth. I like the hair.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
I'm starting to enjoy that new haircut of yours. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I just go in and I tell them to lop off a certain number of inches because I haven't had a chance to go and get a haircut in a while. It's my theory, and it always turns out slightly, still the same, but slightly different.
Well, I like this particular choice. It looks fresh on you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And here we are. It's a bittersweet moment. We have reached our last metaphysical kernel of thought.
There's sort of a meta effect there for me, too, because having not personally been part of the team that wrote the book that we've worked our way through, I now have the experience of going through chapter and verse, so to speak, and understanding the intention and the message and the magic that you and Sue were trying to impart to the reader. Yeah. So my experience of walking through these is at a perfect closure as far as, now we're going to move on, and I'll just provide a teaser and let you know that you're going to be doing the upcoming promo for the new type. Or yep. The new format for the show.
Next week during our extra, please listen carefully as I attempt to explain where we're going next and why we're choosing to do so. We'll see how it works out. But
absolutely.
It's going to be fun any way you look at it, because you and I get a blast out of going down rabbit holes together.
There you go.
In all sorts of ways. But yeah, tonight's topic, though, is experiential practice. As a witch.
I know it's off in your way, but I'm going to ask just for this particular one, because I know there's stuff that we want to talk about in here. Okay. Can you take a minute and define experiential for us?
Okay. Well, experiential is actually an adjective, so it's relating to, derived from, or providing experience, like experiential knowledge or experiential lessons. In other words, you have to go through the experience of something to understand.
Okay.
It's the best definition according to various dictionaries.
It's something that intrinsically requires that you experience it, then the value must be in the subjective experience that you're getting from that event. Like the ritual of getting a tattoo or something like that. There's a passage, or a moment that you have to go through, and that's what gives you that subjective experience, right?
I would agree. And how I experience something and you experience something are always they're never going to completely match up. Even if for example, if you and I had to do a ritual together.
Sure.
You experience it. There are certain facts that we can agree on. We did ritual. This is what we did. This is what we wanted to have happen. How you experience what happens, though.
Well, and even the adjectives that we would use to describe the experience would be different from person to person, sure.
Exactly. And what we got out of it is going to be different. And
that's why most of these practices you stress are things that it's important that you do them and you live them, because that's where the magic comes out of it, is having those aha or those sunrise moments.
Yes. Those individual experiences, even though you could be with a group of 100 other witches, it's still an individual experience.
Sure. Well, and something I wanted to mention too is, a dozen different people can experience the same fire in a dozen different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But we ourselves, there are experiences that I had. I'll use my graduation day, for example. I know there are some concrete facts that I know the address and where I was and what time I was. And I have pictures that show me evidence of the things that I was wearing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what was said and what was not said. And I don't know the flavor and the taste and the scent of that experience without seeing it through 40 or 50 years of my life's other experience. And there's a filter there. Mm-hmm. And so I just wanted to mention that our subjectivity, just like our experience, isn't a static thing where we had that experience, we recorded it, and we are always going to remember that experience as we experienced it. No, thank goodness. My subconscious mind has built in some filters on some of the things that I've seen my way through. And I'm grateful for some of the distortions. I'll be honest.
I think we are.
Subjectivity across time within our own person is how we see our own growth. But those subjective experiences, like I said, I wanted to mention, they grow a patina to the point where sometimes they're far afield from what the original moment may have been about.
I think sometimes, too, you were talking about a patina, and that to me implies weathering over time. And sometimes those experiences, like high school graduation, and we will not discuss how close I am getting to my 50th reunion, are better seen through those filters of time.
Sure.
Because we can appreciate the meaning behind them as opposed to the individual memories of it. And sometimes better.
Well, and down to the personal level, the 59-and-a-half-year-old Dave has a lot more of an insighted understanding of what caused this particular individual or that particular individual's behavior on that day. Obviously for me, without going into detail, it was a day that I carry. But there again, I say I'm grateful for the filter that I have, because I understand the humanity and the people behind it. And it just kind of as a fun exercise, only because I had this subjectivity idea the other night when I was out. I went to see my first drag show. Everyone should try one. Everyone should either have a friend or someone who's part of the show or whatever give them, it helps to have a little bit of a preview and an understanding of just to set expectations.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a dear friend of mine who's a performer, Jack, or Hale as I know him. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful show and a great experience. But back to the subjectivity, while I was sitting there watching the show, and I got to gush for a minute. So the show that I went and saw was called Hook. And essentially it was a viewing of the Robin Williams movie and
Mm-hmm.
Dustin Hoffman. It was a reviewing of that film. And then at particular moments in the plot sequence that fit in, there were different performers that would come up and do drag numbers in character. And there was a hook and there was a pan. And I don't want to gush about the whole show, but what a great experience for me. And when I sat there, I had the conscious thought, what would the 19-year-old David think about this show? And what would the 39-year-old David have thought about sitting in this show? And now, me being 59 and understanding that even that subjectivity is different at different moments in our life.
I agree completely.
So we are going to experience things different ways during different eras or different versions of ourselves.
Or different moods, or different days, or different months, or different moons, or.
That's the very thing that causes me to keep doing rituals that, okay, we've done a full moon ritual before, but I haven't done this one. And we've done a Samhain ritual before, but I haven't done this one. So that subjectivity becomes, at least for me, it becomes kind of a passion.
Yeah, and when you think about it, this Samhain, I am a different Elizabeth than I was last Samhain.
Right.
So I am going to experience the ritual differently.
Sure.
And something else will catch my subjective attention more deeply, which is the point of what we wrote about now. Let's be honest.
Well, and not for nothing. I'm not trying to call anybody out, but if you can read and you can study and you can know the words and you can have book after book after book, but if you're not trying to light a fire with your fingertips, if you're not casting and using your intention and being a witch, then even if you know and speak volumes about witchcraft, you're not a witch, you're a scholar.
You're not a practicing witch.
You've studied it, you may understand it, but come in and swim in it. It is an experiential, or, back to what you were saying, a mystery religion. It needs sort of that immersion, even if it's only for a few moments each day.
Yeah.
Even if you decide that you want to step into your magic space for a few minutes each day, boy, go in there and test.
Yeah.
And wish and focus your intentions and make your magic be your magic.
Yes.
Because that's how, that subjective experience grows. I can remember like playing with stoplights. I mean, I still do it kind of as an exercise and whatnot, but playing with telling the stoplights when you really, really need green lights.
Yeah. Or get 5 more minutes. Yeah.
Do those things. I mean, because the experience of having them work is much more powerful than the experience of having them not work.
Yeah, and I think the other piece of it is, we write about, we wish you the joys and struggles, because there are times when your practice is going to be joyful, and other times where it's going to be like walking through mud. And that's okay too, but the idea is that we keep doing it. Because it's constantly changing, and that's, I think, the real part that makes it a mystery. I can't explain to you what I experience. I can sort of explain it. I can give you a bunch of words, but that does not make you have my experience.
No, and my experience is part of that little internal spark of the divine. My itty bitty magic spot is formed from that experience, literally.
And it gets bigger the more you experience stuff.
I like to I like to think that it optimizes. I'm not talking about getting a bigger dimension or anything.
No, I think eventually, I mean, it
we all get bigger with age. I know what you're trying to say, lady.
I'm talking about we broadcast a little better to that external spark somewhere.
Sure.
The focus is better. I think if they get to the better idea, or I can connect with my internal spark more easily the more I practice. And experience.
Well, and that it's interesting because earlier, the previous segment we were talking about taking our 1, 2, 3 breaths, and me doing my roots down, branches up stretch. And thank you, Susie. That probably has been one of the most magical things she ever taught me.
Me too.
But that experience is always this one. And the reason I say it that way is because, sometimes you get caught up in all right, we're getting ready to do a Samhain ritual.
And that's usually when they go sideways and something magical happens anyway.
But you know what I mean? It's like, well, people say, well, I've done a full moon ritual, but not this one. Or I've done a summer solstice ritual, but not this one.
Right.
It's for me that internal spark of the divine, or my little itty spark, as I call it. It gets hungry for those experiences.
Oh, sure.
In the same way that there's a part of my inner spark that gets hungry for riding a bike. I wasn't fit for a while, and now that I'm able to get back on a bike, I'm a healthier human being. Absolutely. So it's part of the wish and intention that I was hoping for myself for the last several years, to live the way that I'm living and in the circumstance that I'm living. So I literally can see every day something in my life that has been as a result of these experiences.
I think so. And I think the other piece is too, we're not knocking seeking knowledge, because part of being a witch is looking for new ways to practice, new ways to do, new ways to think about things, or kind of rethink about things sometimes.
Sure.
Something we read, a couple of years ago, and it didn't make any sense then. But having had more experiences as a witch, and you go back and you read what that author was writing about, and you get it a little better, or it makes sense.
It's interesting that comes up because there I guess there's a couple of schools of thought, but I'm of the school of thought that I have a shelf of books down here that I've read the entire series of a particular author, and there's about 30 some of them.
Mm-hmm.
I read my way through the entire series and enjoyed it. This was probably 15, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I will reread that set of books again. It's been long enough for me that I feel like the experience of reading that book now would be a fresh enough and new enough experience. And I will look for and hope to see places where I can see the overlap.
Mm-hmm.
Where, I remember feeling this way about this passage in the book the last time I experienced this passage in the book. And kind of just being mindful of that,
But maybe the experience is a little deeper now.
Or not. I mean,
or not. And sometimes it's the same thing all over again. And other times it's like, why did I think this was funny last Tuesday? But that's okay.
Hey, I rewatch old classic movies too, and sometimes I think the experience is a new thing.
I will probably return to a certain author who might have been British, and unfortunately doesn't write anymore because of ongoing coaching dementia, who started out working for waterworks in Britain. and came up with the idea of a fantastical world that's traveling across the universe on the back of a giant turtle.
Yep.
The world is a disc, and it's actually held up by the 4 obligatory elephants that have to show up, holding up a world.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot. Grab onto the rein right there, and ask you to justify where you are in terms of, being a way to experience emotions and the raw needs of each of us in the reading.
Exactly.
Just wanted to bring you back. That's all.
I'm sorry.
And only because in
But
this particular case, because this is the last paragraph of the last section in this section that we've experienced our way through together.
I think so.
Started out originally with Susie, and I kind of want to let you read this last paragraph
again,
and let people hear it. And
okay, because it's important.
Yeah, and I'll bless it when you're done. How's that sound?
I like that, and I think that's a good place to end this because it's about the experience at this point. We hope you enjoyed it with us, and if nothing else, we're telling you to get out there and fucking do shit.
Well, and if anything, I would really hope if you've listened to at least a handful in a row, you see the concept is so simple of the path, because there's weather and there's internal. Sometimes we're a different person with each step.
Exactly. Those of us on the path have shared our thoughts and some knowledge we have gained through years of our experiences of being practicing witches. But we hope that what we have shared through these essays will make you think about your own practice a little differently, and then maybe go into the world in which you live and work with an enhanced perspective about how you can be a witch and seeker in your own unique ways. We wish you all the joy and struggle we have walked through and continue to walk through as we strive to complete our own great works.
Live in this path. Just walk in the path. Be blessed by it.
May you find mirth and reverence in all things.
Be safe. Be kind. Be loved.
Practices of the path. These are the hows and whats that we, as practitioners on the path, actually do in our own lives. Everything from the various tools that we work with, as well as those we don't and why, to the solar and lunar cycles, herbs we use, crystals and stones that we work with, candles, incenses, and anything else we come up with that can give an understanding of what we personally do when we do what we do to develop those abilities. I don't like calling them character traits because they talk about some people are just naturally patient, and I don't think necessarily so. And some people are impatient and they can never be, or some people are less tolerant. I think you can work on that.
I agree with you. I don't think actually that a person is patient or not patient. Exactly. I think patience is a behavior to me, not necessarily a characteristic.
Oh, I know.
Because even a person who is generally very, very mild-mannered and very even-keeled and even-tempered and whatnot, there are moments,
I think we all have those moments,
So I think there are patient processes and there are impatient behaviors.
I would agree with that. Unfortunately, a lot of the world around us tends to see impatience as a virtue kind of thing.
Right.
And maybe it might be considered that. I mean, for me, patience is the ability a lot of the time to remember I have absolutely no control over other people's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
Sure.
And when I can let people be where they're at, I tend to be much more patient and tolerant of their behaviors because it doesn't reflect on me and what I'm doing. in that respect.
Well, and on the flip side of that, yeah, I need to be able to manage and express my own patience and tolerance, because that is the part where I actively do control the result of what happens.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. That's the part. I mean, we can be patient and tolerant and generous of spirit all we want to, and sometimes people are just ready to poke the bear. You know what I mean? So
I
that
do.
for me, one of the things that allows me to work on that patient behavior, or what did you want to call it, is sometimes I have to remember that I can take 3 deep breaths for body, mind, and spirit and center my own self, so that that stuff kind of that would normally send me further out of my character than I would like, I guess we'll call it that. And, just kind of recenter myself into those little things. Or sometimes it comes to the point where I need to kind of draw that invisible bubble around me so that stuff doesn't get to me, literally.
Sure.
With other people. And I think one of the biggest parts of patience and tolerance is I need to learn how to have it with myself, because I can manage a lot of other people's, shall we say, imperfections and things that would make other people crazy about other people, but I can't manage my own stuff sometimes. And sometimes I need to learn how to be a little more patient with me and say, it's okay not to have this all together in one nice, neat little package ready for delivery. That sometimes,
Sure.
like you said, we've had a week, both of us, where there's been some chaos and mayhem going on. And at the end of it, the world didn't end.
Well, no. And I've actually, in my own experience, had some, I shouldn't say had, I was able to take the opportunity, because I had some extra time, to actually do something with that time thoughtfully and intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
But back to the patience, and you mentioned the 3 deep breaths, the body, mind, spirit.
Yes.
For me, I do that, and I'm sure I've talked about this a gazillion times before, and I have the famous little painting up in the Susie shrine. But I take the pose of roots down, branches up, and I literally imagine my toes in the grass and my fingertips in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of think to myself, what am I doing here? Because, say, for example, there was a circumstance going on at work, and for a few minutes, I was outside of myself, and I was in the situation and not in the Dave. And after I was able to recover from that and say, all right, I'm here, I'm doing the job, this is the environment around me, and sort of rejoin my own body.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, for me, I think it's that I have physically trained myself now. My body knows how to react when I take those 3 deep breaths and I stretch my shoulders and wiggle my little hiney. My blood pressure drops 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that I am this spiritual being, the essence of me, in this meat suit, or whatever you want to refer to it. And I am walking a path where every stone except the one I'm in is either a memory or a wish and a worry or whatever. I'm standing on this one.
Yep.
And usually by the time I've kind of thought myself, sometimes I think myself down to an individual stone. And that helps me remember that I am a being playing a role in this conscious universe. I am not the plot. I am not the chaos or the anger or the frustration. I am not. I'm the Dave.
Yes.
And that helps me come back to patience and acceptance and understanding that, okay, so some of these people I'm dealing with are who they are, and some of those people that I'm dealing with are outside themselves and not at all who they are right now as well, and dealing with their own tether.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when everyone in the room is grounded, there's a hum and a wonderful energy to that. But when 2 or 3 people in the room tend to get a little drifty, it affects the climate.
Well, sure it does. And I think
That's what I've been working on, the tolerance of, is just understanding that, here again, it is climate. It's warm in this room, it's cool in this room, it's dry in this room, it's moist in this room, it's angry in this room, whatever.
yeah.
Understanding that I can't control the climate, but I can control how I see and live and swim in the climate.
Yeah.
And that gives me that tolerance, or I think it comes back to acceptance.
Yeah, I think part of being on the path allows us to accept where other people are, because we are learning to accept where we are.
Understanding that other people are on other stones. Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
You know, and the idea is, just because I'm okay right this minute does not mean that everybody else is.
Or just because I'm broken right now at this minute doesn't mean that everyone around me is broken.
That's right. And that we have a right to be broken. And that's what I mean, the patience and tolerance with ourselves.
Sure.
Because we all have to go through, as you said, right now I'm on this stone and now I'm going to move to another one and things will be different.
Yep.
So that
it's almost a daily molting process if you think about it.
Oh, exactly. I think it is. And what I like is we can use a little bit of magic, and sometimes it's just that 3 deep breaths, and that in itself is magic.
Absolutely. All of my cells calm down. Absolutely.
Oh, me too. I take those 3 deep breaths. It's like I had to have, I'm getting ready to have my shoulder replaced. So I had to have a pre-op physical yesterday. And I went in.
Oh, those are so much fun.
No, those just. So I went and I was out. I take 2 medicines for blood pressure every morning. And I was out of one yesterday morning, and I did not have time to get to the pharmacy to pick up the prescription before the physical. So I'm like, I'm going to go in there, and my blood pressure is going to be up more than it normally is.
Understood. Sure. Yep.
And I'm like, okay, I do not want to have a whole.
I think we probably are on the same blood pressure meds, but anyway.
Probably. You reach a certain age and you are, okay? You know, but I walked in there. And I'm like, okay. And all I could think of, because I was a little apprehensive about this whole process, is they're going to take my blood pressure and it's going to be up. And they're not going to let me have, you know how you get. They're not going to let me have the surgery because my blood pressure's too high.
Yeah, so you're practicing conversations that haven't happened yet. Yep.
Oh, exactly. Yes. That's where I was. And so I literally sat there and took those 3 deep breaths before they put the blood pressure cuff on. And my blood pressure was lower than it's been in 2 weeks.
Look at that.
I'm like, okay, I need to do this more often. Which I guess is recognizing that sometimes I need to be a little more patient and tolerant with where I am.
Right.
And I think that's a big piece of it. When we learn to be tolerant of where we are, like you said, swimming in the climate.
Yep.
When we actively try to work on that as part of our spiritual practices, and that's, I think, done through ritual experience a lot of times when things don't go quite as we planned them to.
Sure.
And we can laugh at it while it's happening instead of 2 weeks later. You know, we get better at being a bit more aware of our climate and where we are. Because, like you said, we contribute to the climate too. It's not just, we're just not the only.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know,
and my energy is in that room as well. So, sure.
Exactly. You know, and sometimes we need to be mindful of our own. It's like climate change. We need to be more aware of our own climate contributions, I think.
Sure.
And if we can.
Not for nothing, I can think of a stunning example of that just in the experience that I've had this week. I don't enjoy being loud or verbally abusive to other people anymore. Um, that being the case, I'm also human. I am an imperfect beast, and I stepped out of myself and roared at someone this week at work.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't until my body's reaction later on, the adrenaline and those kind of things, because it was simply verbal. And I didn't even raise my voice that loud. But I recognized later on that the intention and the energy or the chi or whatever you want to call it that I blasted that poor kid with
Yes.
was something. I mean, if I had a visceral reaction to it later on in the day, then I know what kind of energy that I threw. And that's a huge and extreme example. But at the same time, we all recognize that, hey, every day if you come in and you're about a 10% of an Eeyore, then you're adding about 10% of an Eeyore's worth of energy to the climate of a group of people. Yeah.
Exactly. And
I think there's a time like for rituals where, especially if it's something that's either on for me, a traditional holiday, something, because I know that thousands of people have done this for thousands of years, on this earth and whatnot. But when a bunch of people get together for ritual and they're all excited and they're all in that sort of right kind of space, you get 1,000% for every 2 or 3 people. You know what I mean?
It's a very celebratory feeling almost.
Sure, and not for nothing. If you want to see a beautiful example of that kind of energy, look at any Southern Baptist church on a Sunday morning, and when the band fires up, there's some ecstasy going on there. Absolutely.
Yeah. Or the pageantry of the opening games at the Olympics with all the flags, and everybody is just the competitors.
Sure.
Representing their country are just so joyous and proud.
Well, and think about the energy or the climate that they're walking around in and being asked to perform in. Think about their karma or their energy climate when they have to perform like that. That's I guess this is sort of turned into being aware of the energy and the moment that we're in. I think that really transcends, but still works with patience and acceptance and tolerance.
Oh, sure it does. Well, when you think about it, that is more than anything else, the real purpose of the path is developing that awareness. Because then you can choose, do I respond in a mundane way or a magical way, or just let it be?
And you can actively choose when you walk into a room, all right, what am I bringing to this atmosphere? Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Or do I want to stay in it or leave quickly too? There's sometimes it's just best to get the heck out of Dodge.
Well, yeah, and it's funny you say that, because sometimes in my head, just for fun, I have a laugh track going on, and I'll treat such circumstances like they're an old '70s sitcom, like All in the Family and some of the stuff that we grew up with. But more so them than like Simpsons and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll have this little laugh track going on in my head. And when somebody walks into the room, and you can almost hear in my head the crowd go,
Yeah, no, I get it. But and it's just, I think it's, like I said, it's part of being on the path, and the ultimate part of our practice is developing that awareness for ourselves.
Sure.
Of being in the moment.
And understanding the climate both without and within, sure.
Yeah, I think so.
That makes me think about my little baby Spark inside.
That we try to nurture whenever possible.
My little baby Spark is excited because I've just invited Elizabeth to come over and live real-time backyard share a full moon ritual.
I'm kind of you have no idea how I'm looking forward to that. Prior to surgery, because after surgery I won't be able to drive, and I'll be sitting here grumpy in front of the computer going, "Why did it?"
You know what?
And you'll
Remind me to take a couple of pictures or a video clip or something, and I'll put them on. I'll put them on the website when we update.
I like it, and then I can look at them on an endless loop when I am stuck by myself. Yes, you can watch us with the sacred flashlight reading words.
So I should probably just to stick with the patience and the tolerance. I should remind you that you're getting ready to have surgery, and so there's going to be 6 or 8 weeks now, hon, that you're not going to be able to do things that you really want to be able to do. So you're going to have to practice some serious patience and tolerance. And yes, I'm going to have to practice some patience and tolerance in dealing with you when you run out of patience and tolerance.
Yes, I know. I'm pretty good, except when I am trying to get Word to cooperate with me when I want to dictate things.
Understood.
And it doesn't like names, or it tries to correct my grammar when I'm writing dialogue.
I'm going to say this to you because I feel it is a moment of beauty.
Yes.
For the same reason that Word struggles with being able to understand your speech and your inflection, those are the very qualities that make it so wonderful to hear your voice.
Well, thank you. Okay, that made it better. I should write that down and post.
You know this trivially, but I go to sleep to David Attenborough's voice every night. It's just this peaceful, calm, British little thing. You have some of that same characteristic in your voice. You have a voice that has its own charisma.
Well, thank you, sir. That was very nice of you to say. Does it make develop any greater tolerance for Word at this point? I'm already eyeing the microphone because I do have a Word document open going, we are going to war. And I'm
just happy that you were able to tolerate a compliment.
Well, there you go. I'm getting better. That's one thing that I've had to work. I'm working on for myself. That and accepting help gracefully from my grandchildren, who are now turning into adults.
Sure.
Yes, I'm working real hard on that one.
And knowing your family, I can say this in all positive energy.
Sure.
In 6 or 8 weeks, you will have grown together as a family.
Either that, or I'll be calling you over here with a pickaxe to make a hole.
With that.
With that. And I'm not serious about that one. Just nobody, when you listen to this, start trying to figure out where we are so you can call the police on me. It will all be fine. May you find mirth and reverence in all things.
Be safe, be kind, and be loved. Before we go, we would like to present you with a tip or trick or witchy hint. Just something to make your day go better, because we live in a mixture of the magical and the mundane.
In the spirit of days and my ramblings in our practices section about the need to develop patience and tolerance within ourselves, and sometimes especially for ourselves, I feel compelled to offer you up a little patience right damn now quick spell. The reasons you might want to use it are you are having one of those moments when you feel something doesn't work out exactly as you planned right this minute, everything is going to fall apart. It's like watching that first domino teeter and then crash into the next one, causing a cascade of things falling around you. You need some patience, and you need it right now. You need to be able to breathe and recognize that the universe often has its own timing for things that don't necessarily match your preconceived ideas. As the saying goes, make plans and the gods laugh. This is a quick spell to give you that moment of patience, that ability to wait for something to happen and just deal with what is instead of what you think should be right now. The intent is I am able to wait with patience for the moment. Your ingredients A piece of blue lace agate. I like it because to me it always seems to be full of patient energy. But any stone that has some weight to it, and I don't necessarily mean physical weight, but that metaphysical weight of slowness and patience for you, especially a blue one. The spell chant to raise energy. My patience grows as I deliberately slow. Again, the spell chant is, my patience grows as I deliberately slow. The steps to perform the spell. Take 3 deep breaths, 1 for body, 1 for mind, and 1 for spirit. Now grab your piece of blue lace agate or whatever stone you have and hold it in your hand. Feel its weight and patient energy. Start repeating the spell chant over and over as you move the stone from one hand to the other, taking the time to feel its weight and patient energy every single time. Now continue chanting and moving the crystal back and forth until you feel more in control and calmer. Feel the patience within you rising up and taking over your thoughts and feelings. Now say out loud, I feel patience arising in me, as I will, so mote it be. When you feel like you have gained some patience for the moment, put the stone aside and know that you can wait more easily. You can always carry the stone with you throughout your day as a reminder that yes, you have patience within, and sometimes you need it right damn now. So with that being said, until next time, may you find mirth and reverence in all things. It looks like the coffee cups are empty for this week. We hope you join us again next Tuesday. But you can find us at our website, 2youngcrones.com. That's the number 2, Young Crones.
We'd love to have you join our growing online Discord community. Check out our new Patreon presence. Just look for Young Crones Cafe. Through Patreon, you'll be able to make it to our Discord. We are also Young Crones Cafe on Twitter and Facebook.
Until then, remember, we are witches who work with energies to effect change.
We are believers in both immanent and transcendent divine.
We are celebrants of the passage of the solar and lunar cycles.
We are hedge walkers who pass back and forth between the worlds of the magical and the mundane.
We are seekers of knowledge.
And we are walkers of a spiritual tradition we call the Path.
So mote it be.
So mote it be.